Let's bring out what is a rather terrific panel of talent. We're going to start with executive producer Sarah Timberman. Then she plays Willa Givens, Vivian Olyphant. She plays Sandy, and I'm going to try to avoid being a Rectify fanboy now, Adelaide Clemens. His character is Clement, but folks call him the Oklahoma Wildman, Boyd Holbrook. And finally, he's an executive producer on the show, but he also acts a little, Timothy Olyphant. Sarah, I believe you had something you wanted to read for us.
Hey, y'all. So conspicuously absent here are any of the writers behind this show. We're really sad about that. It's really like a writer's show, this show, starting with Elmore Leonard on through Graham. And then this season, Dave Andron and Michael Dinner did an amazing job as showrunners. So quickly, in their absence, Dave and Michael had this to say. City Primeval is a work of love. We got back together with people we dig, working in the writer's room. We got to be with Raylan in the next phase of Raylan's life. We got to play in Elmore Leonard's universe again. But because of the standoff and negotiations between the WGA and the AMPTP, we cannot be with you to honor the actors and collaborators who are our dance partners. We are members and supporters of the WGA. The members deserve a new contract and a fair deal, as do the members of the DGA and SAG. We look forward to the near future when these issues will be resolved.
As we say, it starts with the writers. So, Sarah, let's start then at that point. When did the conversations first start going around about turning City Primeval, which is not a Raylan Givens book, into a justified Raylan Givens TV series?
It was actually, it's funny because Michael Dinner and Dave Andron and the other writers talk a lot about Elmore Leonard's cosmic coincidences. And in terms of the nature of the storytelling, and this was kind of a cosmic coincidence because my partner, Carl Beverly, had come across this book and was saying, we should think about it. It's not a Raylan story, but it's pretty great. And we were looking into it. And then Tim came across a book and said, well, it's not a Raylan Givens story, but maybe it could be. And we all realized the potential in that hugely. Michael had been thinking about doing something with it for a long time, too. I think somewhere Quentin Tarantino's interest played a role in the thing. So there was kind of a lot of parties arrived at the same conclusion, which is that this could be the basis for a next great chapter in Raylan Givens' life. And FX supported that 100%. And here we are.
Well, Timothy, you'd had the experience of Deadwood ending and then, and we can clap for Deadwood if we want to.
Woo!
And almost from the second it ended, people started saying, okay, when are we going to get the movie? When are we going to get things wrapped up? And it took over a decade for it to actually happen. Did you, when you started talking about bringing Justified back, did you assume it was going to be the same kind of situation, where it was going to be 20 years down the road, you were eventually going to do it? Were you amazed by how fast this actually happened?
No. First of all, thank you for doing this. Thank you guys for being here. It was, and I also wanted, first of all, it was just a treat watching this with you guys. We were all sitting up there. You guys are a great audience. I hope everybody watches the same show you guys watch. That was a lot of fun. And I also want to shout out to our writers who, I hope those fuckers get everything they're asking for. Lord knows they deserve it. I was just like counting laughs, and writers did that for me. They gave me all those laughs, and there was some heart there, and there was a lot of great stuff, and none of it exists without a writer. And if you say to a chatbot thing to write season 9, it'll suck. Sorry, you had a question.
Well, when it comes to revisiting these roles that have been so indelible, what excites you about coming back to them? And do you feel any, I don't want to say fear, do you feel any nervousness about it?
No different than I feel about any really great part or any great opportunity. It's the same thing. You're looking for, oh, this is right in my sweet spot, and I'm not sure if I can do it. And this falls right in there. This seems like the show, and I was watching it, and I'm like, it's not the show. I don't know if we're gonna pull it off. That's very exciting. It's a very exciting place to be. Anything else is kind of boring. As far as Deadwood versus this, I never thought Deadwood would happen. I didn't quite honestly think I wanted it to happen, and it was such a lovely experience. Perhaps nudge this. I stay in touch with a lot of the folks on this show. I stay in touch with the writers. We'd always talked about wanting to do it. I just love them. I love the collaboration. I look forward to the opportunity to be in the room with them. They don't necessarily look forward to the opportunity of me being in the room, but I love it. And I would do it again and again.
So much of the premiere is kind of hinting at the way the world has changed around Raylan since we last saw him. I'm curious how much you think Raylan has actually changed and how much you actually want Raylan to have changed.
Very little. You just want him to, the sweet thing about, I think, the Elmore world, people change just a little bit, and you never want it to feel preachy. But you want to challenge him, and you want him to be complicated, and you want him to have a tough time.
Sarah, from your perspective, how do you look at what the show's sweet spot is? How do you look at when you see a script, when you see a cut, yes, that feels like Justified versus it's the ChatGPT version of it?
It's, you hate to come back to the old famous thing they say about pornography, when you see it, but a Justified script when you read one. I think, and it was, I'll just echo what Tim said, just hearing the laughter out there is music to all of our ears, because I think the show at its best sort of pulls off this balance between sort of unexpected humor in unexpected places. And I didn't write it, so I can say I think that there's some poetry in our show that is one of the things I love about it. And I think there's brutality in it, which is true to Elmore's writing also. And there's a strange sort of juxtaposition of funny things and horrifying things. And I think it's a really, I will say as a producer, like it's a high bar. And I am in awe of the writers who make this show, and it's not just because they're on strike. People are asking us earlier, like, why bring it back? But this was a group of people who loved each other so much in making it. Like, why not bring it back? Because I've rarely seen like a team of people in terms of a cast and some writers collaborate in this way. And the last day on set of the original show, Caitlin Deaver was there with her guitar playing for all of us, and everybody was weeping. So it felt like we didn't have the same unfinished business, say, as like Shiv and Tom or something. but there was some unfinished business. Like Raylan was left in, kind of, there was a real question about how he'd look at his life a couple years later. So everyone was excited to explore those things.
Vivian, according to my math in my head, you must have been 7 or 8 when the series premiered. Does that sound right?
Correct.
I assume that the family did not sit around at that point and watch every episode, but when did you first watch Justified?
When did you first watch it?
I've never seen the show, but I have to say, okay, let me explain. My dad never wanted, we never watched my dad's work, my siblings and I, because it's kind of strange.
She saw me in a play once.
So I did see Rango, the animated movie?
Saw me in a cartoon.
Yes, so that's my answer.
But it wasn't something you watched in secret with friends when he wasn't around.
No, I don't think I love my dad, but I'm not that interested in.
So I guess the question is, when did you become interested? When did you decide this was a thing you wanted to do?
You know what? I'm not that interested in your answer.
I became interested when I heard there was a role available for. So.
Wow.
Why not audition?
And you thought you would be able to play Timothy's daughter? You thought you'd be able to handle that?
Yes.
And so how did the conversation go when you told him that was what you wanted to do?
Well, it went well. He said, sure, just audition. And so I did. And yeah, and he came to visit me. My mom and my dad came to visit me in college because I was in my freshman year at the time. And then we did the audition tape there and sent it in.
So you said just audition. I'm curious what your internal monologue was saying at that point.
My wife and I talked about it, and we knew we were going to be shooting over the summer, and she needed a job. And we thought this would be a good one. So we talked about it for a while, and then it was a long conversation. Anyway, my wife thought it was a good idea, and so I went along with it.
And I can say her read came in with a batch of about 40 other people, and we got very little heads up. It was just like, take a look, do what see what you guys think. Anything works. And I promise you, there wasn't even. It's true. There wasn't even a question. It was really obvious to all of us that this was the right call, but it wasn't like Tim said, let's cast my daughter. It was like, partners, let's take a look and see what you think. And she won it. She was great.
She always wanted to do it. We just never let her. And so we had an instinct that she'd be good at it and that she'd work hard. And I told Sarah and the other producers that, we wouldn't have brought it up if we didn't think she could handle it. And just the audition process with her was a joy. It was a pleasure. She worked super hard, and it was very fun. And I told them that. I said, working with her on the audition, I thought to myself, this would be a fun person to work with. And I said, and I won't say anything more and let them take it from there.
It's obviously, though, a very, very different form of interaction than you guys ever would have had before. Each of you give me something that you learned about the other from this experience.
Oh.
I'm not really interested in what she thinks. Just want you to know.
I've learned that it takes a long time for him to have his makeup done. He's
This is fucking
more
bullshit.
Of a diva than I thought.
Guys, Boyd and Addie have been here, and then no one's asked them a single question.
I'm getting to them.
Let's get to that.
There's some quality humiliation going on here, and I'm enjoying it.
This is not what I signed up for.
I feel like I'm on Jerry Springer.
Yeah. This could be, you know what? That mantle's open. You know what I mean? Like, you could run with that.
So what did you learn about Vivian?
Nothing new. You know.
I will say, no, my dad is a very hard worker, and it was amazing to watch him work.
Wow.
Well,
You have been
I've always
trained very
wondered-
well already. Well done.
yeah, I've always wondered, like, what is he actually doing for work? And so it was interesting to see that he's getting paid to be a child.
She's not wrong. I mean, that is part of the allure of the job. Is that you get to play make believe.
So, Boyd and Adelaide. I mean, we can keep talking about Vivian if you want, but it's no. Had you guys watched Justified, or had Timothy not wanted you to watch either?
You're not the father, Tim. No, I'm originally from Eastern Kentucky, so I kind of boycotted the show up until my mom asked me to watch it over and over. She's such a fan of the show, and
Never told me that.
yeah, she loved it. She loves you.
you
She's in
would.
love with you. Sorry, Dad. Yeah, I hadn't really seen the show up until I got offered the part, and then I went back and sort of rinsed the 5 seasons. And I had a buddy who worked on the show.
There were 6.
But my buddy was in the 5th show.
Wow. Wow.
It's true. So, yeah, he said, well, is Michael Dinner doing it, Dave Andron, and Graham, and Chris Provenzano, and all these guys are doing it. I said, yeah. He said, well, run towards that job. The shit you will get a say on the show will blow your mind. So I signed up. Yeah.
Well, because you'd never seen the 6th season.
I didn't know what happened in the
If you'd
6th,
seen the 6th season, you're like, this is a terrible idea. They're going to fuck up a really good ending. You know what I mean? You would have been like, this is a bad idea, guys. We should pull the plug. You guys finished it off. Well, great. Why are you bringing it back?
lucky me.
It was lucky for you. You never watched the whole thing.
Yep.
And Adelaide.
Yeah, I watched the show. I've said this already, but I did a play with Tim, Kenneth Lonergan play, which Tim was incredible in. And when I was working with him on...
She's Australian.
It's always a little surprising.
Oh, he's a little freaky. She was also great in the play.
Oh, no. Yeah, and I watched Justified just so I knew who I was working with, and at the time I was like, I can't quite get a handle on him, and then I watched the show and I was like, that's what he's doing, and then when this job came up, I rewatched everything, and I paid closer attention to the female roles, and I loved them and was really excited about it. And yeah, here we are.
So, I know actors don't like to talk about bad guy roles as being villains. I've heard the explanation that everyone's the hero of their own story a lot of times. Your characters, they seem like they're not necessarily doing good things here. How would you say that they're actually the heroes of Justified City Primeval?
Yeah, I mean, they're just figuring it out, you know.
That's what heroes do. You just figure it out.
Sandy's high most of the time, so she's really thinking about 2 hours in front of her. So she's not responsible for what happens. He is.
I thought Tim was the antagonist.
What would you say motivates him that is a valorous thing that he's trying to accomplish in strange ways?
I think Clement thinks he's going to be a rock star one day. And this will just be a cool story he tells everybody on social media. And he wants some money, I guess.
Yeah.
So we are running low on time, and I guess the question people are wanting to know is this going to be a one-off? Is this going to be a thing where you're going to come back in 10 years and do it again? Or could you see yourself wanting to do this again a year or two from now?
You know, I mean, thank you.
At least one person in the audience wants multiple seasons.
Look, I'd show up. I had a good time. Every time we've done this, I've had a good time. So I'd show up.
Sarah, from your perspective?
If he shows up, I show up. Yeah, and yeah, for sure. We all feel that way. We love this thing, and
Vivian, are you okay with playing his daughter again at some point?
I'm free.
Excellent. Well, thank everyone for coming out tonight, and thank you to Sarah, to Vivian, to Adelaide, to Boyd, and to Timothy.